Well, Ross, thanks for joining us. It was a good opportunity for the younger players, and they impressed, didn't they?
They did. The message before the game was, of course, we want to go out to win, but it was a night for me of opportunities. I think you start the season in any sort of competition, cup competition like this. Obviously, last year tells you a lot about if you approach things right, you never know where it can lead to. So, although sitting down in the changing room this evening feels a distant way from where the competition ends, you never know if you go about it in the right way what you can achieve. So it was about saying that to keep giving everybody a real opportunity to play in this competition this year, and then at the same time opportunities for everybody that hasn't had the minutes that I'm sure they've been wanting on the pitch to go out and put in a performance, which, like you said, they did, Dave.
And Sam Sargent is such a patient young man, isn't he?
Yeah, I can't praise him enough. Like I say, for last year, I thought Alex Lawless, Charlie Lee, James Alabi, Matty Harold got real praise for their attitudes, which they should have done, not being in the team every week. But Sarge sort of sometimes went unnoticed because he was a young goalkeeper. But it still takes patience. He's still the one out there every day diving around when the lads are practising their finishing and all those sorts of things. So I'm delighted for him in every time he stepped into the position this season that he's put in good performances, and tonight he done it again.
And so pleased for him to have a clean sheet.
Yeah, and that was towards the end there. Obviously, it looked a little bit tense, and Joby, myself and Danny were talking about how we quite tried to get the team up the pitch, and obviously sometimes with a little bit of a lack of experience to drive your players up the pitch and manage the game a little bit towards the end can obviously sometimes catch up with you. And I would have been really disappointed for the lads tonight had Southend managed to equalise it, but obviously at the same time even a free kick at the end there, if that goes in, it sort of would have dampened it down, so I was happy for him.
And talking about young men that had to be patient, Shadrach Ogie had to wait a long time for his chance.
Yeah, it was a long time waiting last year in terms of his international clearance, and for a young lad he stuck at it incredibly well. He would have been entitled to switch off on a number of occasions. The lads are very hard on him here. In training, his name's always the one that's shouted if he makes a mistake. But I think that what that tells you is that people at this club think he's got a very big future and they want to drive him on. So when he makes mistakes, you can correct him. And I think a night like tonight was fantastic because, yes, he done very, very, very well in the first half. But what it does now is it gives us a real opportunity to show him he's good. He's in different sides of his game in a competitive environment. So it can only have done him an incredible amount of favours tonight to be involved in that.
And the Orient faithful really wanted to see George Marsh, didn't they?
Yeah, and rightly so. And I wanted to see George Marsh, as I did. I wanted to see Dale Gorman and Jordan Maguire-Drew and James Alabi, everybody that come into the team tonight that hasn't been playing. I wanted to see how they went out there and performed. And I thought George done really well, along with Gorman. I thought the pair of them in midfield they were tenacious and gave everything that we'd asked of them. And so it was pleasing that George can come off tonight in his first competitive start for us and have put in the performance he did.
Good goal from Dan Happy.
Yeah, he's something that Dan's added to his game. Obviously, as we went on last season, he's become a goal threat, and it was something that we spoke to him a lot about last year, and Justin was very conscious of the fact that he's a big, strong boy and defends our box really well, but he needs to be more effective in the other team's goal area, and I think he's had a number of opportunities this year, and he's showing that he's capable of coming up and adding to goals.
Dale Gorman took his well.
Excellent, and Dale's got that technique that that when he gets into the final third, he can thump one, he can bend one. He's had a couple, hasn't he, in pre-season where he smashed it past the goalkeeper at Hull, and he hit a free kick against Crawley that just went over the bar. He bent one in, I think, last year in the trophy when he sort of took a short free kick. So he's shown that real forte and that real variety that he's got to whip it in the corner, which was nice to see go in.
I don't want to sound greedy, but there should have been more, shouldn't there?
Yeah, and obviously, Dave, that's something that I'm sure everybody's feeling. But I mean, what we have to do is sort of put it into perspective. I think the average age Martin and I worked out this afternoon was about just over 22. It wasn't quite 23. So what that meant was this team qualified like everybody else's teams above us to come into this competition as an under 23s team. I think we started the game with a front three that were all over 23. So I think that sends a clear message as to what the type of performance they put in tonight. But of course there was a number of times where we should have added to the scoreline.
And have any of those players in terms of their performances added to your issues in terms of selection for Saturday, Swindon Town?
Definitely. It's a game that's massive to me, but it's massive to this club, and an opportunity for us to get a good result in front of a big crowd at home at this weekend. And I think that, like I said right at the beginning, it was about tonight giving yourself that opportunity to make your mark on the game and go and impose yourself and give me a problem for the weekend and the coming weeks after that. And certainly a number of the lads have done that this evening.
Josh Coulson okay for that one?
Yeah, he's done some work today. There's been a number of them in today. Jamie Turley suffered a little bit of a setback, so we're obviously disappointed on that front. Josh Coulson come through his session today, as did Josh Wright. James Brophy had a little bit of a niggle, so we've had a productive day on the whole in terms of the lads that you haven't seen out on the pitch tonight. The ones that were suffering with a few aches and pains have come off the back of a good working day.
Joe Widdowson?
Yeah, very close. I think the thing for Joe now is just how he how he deals with the little knocks, and it's a real subtle area, isn't it, your ribs, and we all know, I'm sure, if you've suffered with that just twisting and turning and daily movements is difficult. So being a footballer in that situation can be tough, but he's certainly getting stronger, and I hope that he'll be very, very close at the weekend.
The FA Trophy, the league trophy, it has its critics, but it's good to be back in it, and it's good to play Southend United. It's even better to beat them, isn't it? Yeah,
as an Orient supporter and as anyone connected with the club, it's always nice to beat Southend, whatever the circumstances. So I think I said in my programme notes, if you're sending the under-9s out to play Southend, you'd like to see them go and win it. So it's certainly important for us to do that tonight. So that was great. I think at the same time as well, Dave, if we'd have lost the game tonight, people would have criticised and said, they should be winning this, Southend are struggling, whatever the message might have been. Well, we haven't. We've come out tonight and we've won the game, and for me, put in a good performance, albeit that we tailed off towards the end, but I think that's expected with a number of players that haven't had the amount of football that perhaps they would have hoped for.
League One opposition, and the fact that you might be a little bit disappointed with beating them 2-0, it's a good positive sign, isn't it?
100%. I think that the message from me to the boys before the game was, this is a group of players, and this is a club that's under pressure and struggling at the moment. So we've seen that, we've felt that. I know I've felt that here, and under very, very difficult circumstances not so long ago. And I said this must be the ones to put our foot on their heads and shove them under the water, because that's what you've got to do. You've got to have that ruthless streak within you. We can't come out here tonight and think it's going to be a walk in the park. It wasn't, but I thought the boys applied themselves properly and put in the performance I hoped for.
Thanks, Ross. Thank you very much.